The United States is in a whole lot of debt. According to the USDebtClock.org, the United States is in $31 trillion worth of debt, and it's increasing every second. This is a major problem for the United States, and something that many believe must be changed. Everyone has a different approach on how this debt should be handled. The best way to handle this debt is to cut useless government spending and cut projects that don't benefit the United States. An example of U.S. government spending is when we used federal money went to the Anacostia Economic Development Corp to help build an international house of pancake in an underserved community. This community turned out to be an area of Washington, D.C. This area was Columbia Heights, which is termed, quote, one of Washington's more desirable neighborhoods, end quote. CBS News goes on to talk about many examples of unnecessary government spending. To build this pancake house, it cost taxpayers $765,000. Sure, this number doesn't seem huge compared to the gigantic amount of debt the United States is in, but every little bit that we can save as a country will help us pay off our debt to other countries, and the debt will decrease. According to Heritage.org, the way the United States government can cut spending is to abolish the National Resource Conversion Service. This service was founded in 1935, and it was created to help minimize soil erosion in crops around the United States. This erosion has not increased or decreased since this thing has been founded, and every year it costs taxpayers $80 million. Over the course of 5 years, if we cut this program, it would save the United States $3.5 billion. The Center of Policy Priorities created a pie chart that breaks down where the government spends its money. Some of these percentages can be cut down. One of these could be health insurance. It is currently 25% of government spending. In my family of 6, before the American Care Act, sometimes called Obamacare, was created, it cost $461 to have insurance for my entire family. After the American Care Act was created, it would cost my family $3,500 to insure just 4 of us, and the government would pay for $1,700 of that. Because of the national debt, government should not be taking care of people's health insurance. The creation of the American Care Act made it so much harder for families to get good insurance for a reasonable price. This extra spending from the government continues to raise our national debt. Yes, this might have some benefits for some people. There might be beneficial programs, but they highly outweigh the cost that it has towards the United States. According to the Housing Committee on a budget, changing how the American Care Act was structured will save the United States $734 billion. The way that we can restore it is that there are no, quote, guaranteed benefits with payment towards the purchase of private health care plans or traditional Obamacare. Another problem with the American Care Act system is that it turns away the sick and the old because it costs too much to insure them. This is not a humane thing to do. We should not deny people health insurance because they are sick or unwell. The government created this program, and it makes a lot of people's lives much harder than it needs to be. A lot of people might say that the way to decrease debt is to raise taxes. And they believe that if the government continues to spend money, that they'll put it towards the debt and help decrease the debt and make it easier for the people of the United States. As I've talked about, the government doesn't take care of its money. It just spends it on whatever it wants and puts it towards things that are not needed and are not important to the United States or how it's run. Some of the programs the government spends are useful programs, like helping with veterans after they retire or are injured and helping them live their lives now after they served and died for our country. And this is one example of many good government programs, but there are still so many that outweigh and decrease government money because of how much it spends. The way to slow down and start to repay government debts is for the government to stop spending as much money. And there are so many more programs than what I had time to talk about today that could be reformed, changed, or restructured to help save taxpayers billions of dollars each year.